Let's start by continuing to talk about Tom Brady, because this is a guy who has famously said he wants to play until he is 45. But according to one columnist who said he had a lengthy conversation with Brady, he believes he could play until he's 48 years old. And then just this morning, Tom Brady went on the Howard Stern show, and he was pretty open and honest in the conversation, even admitting that the reason he's no longer attending OTAs is because Giselle wants him to carry more of the load at home, even admitting at times she'd been unhappy at home. So, Shannon, what is your reaction to all of this?
Well, Skip, I was... Before we came on, I was reading through some of this transcript of what Tom Brady had said on the Howard Stern, and I was surprised how candid he was and how open and honest that he was and reflective about his time in New England. And I think that has a lot to do, it seems like a burden or a cloud has been lifted off of him. It seems like, Skip, you know, you and I used to talk about it all the time, that when you go to New England, it's almost like the movie Gattaca. Everybody's dressed the same, everybody walks the same, and they look the same. The movie was shot in black and white. And so it seems to me that once Tom Brady got out from under Bill Belichick, there was no repercussions or ramifications for anything that he could have possibly said. He was like, okay, now I can be speaking freely and openly and honestly. Skip, but for me, I think this is one of the reasons why Coach Belichick was so willing to move on. He knew that if he says, okay, Tom, you can play to 43, guess what was going to happen, Skip? Then here come 44, here come 45, here come 46, here come 47. And at some point in time, Coach Belichick knew he was wanting to get on. Now, the one thing that I do want to push back with Tom on is that he's like, well, it was Coach Belichick's decision. He knew that, you know, eventually he was going to have to go in a different direction. No, Tom. You fought tooth and nail at the time when you were there, because you went upstairs and talked to Mr. Kraft, because had you not done that, you would have been gone a couple of years before you actually left in 2020. So I'm going to give a little pushback there, Skip, but I'm not surprised. There's zero, to answer your question, Jenny, there is a 0% chance that Tom Brady is going to be playing in the National Football League at the age of 48. Now, he's, I think the oldest, Vinny Testaverde, I think, started 7 games at the age of 44. I think Warren Moon, started a few games at the age of 44. But Tom Brady, talking about being a full-time starter, he needs to get past 43. He needs to play his 21st season and see how that turns out and reassess it after that. And that was one of the things I think, Skip, started bothering Coach Belichick, because he wants his players to think in 1-year increments, not 2, 3, 4 years down the road. And I think he thought Tom was getting ahead of himself and wasn't so much focusing on year to year, but he was looking too far into the future. And that maybe rubbed Coach Belichick the wrong way.
Okay, I have a whole lot to say about everything you just said, but I'm going to go back to your pushback that no, Tom, you went upstairs to Daddy, to Mr. Kraft. This is 2.5 years ago, to say, wait a second, he's trying to push me out the back door. He wants to go forward with Jimmy Garoppolo. And obviously we know that it was Robert Kraft, according to the ESPN report, who pushed back on Belichick and said, no, you will trade Jimmy G. And we know the rest of that story. But I ask you, Shannon, before I launch into all the rest that you said, did not Robert Kraft make the right choice 2.5 years ago to overrule Belichick then to keep Tom Brady? Did he not make the right choice?
Yes, Skip, it was the right choice, but that wasn't what Tom said. Tom said he was okay with Coach Belichick wanting to move on, when you and I both know he was not okay, and he still isn't okay with Coach Belichick moving on. He also said some other things that he said in the article. You might touch on it, and then I'll come back if you don't. But go ahead, Skip. I want to hear what you have to say about this one.
Okay. So the point was, Robert Kraft made not a good decision, a great decision to overrule Belichick and basically slap him on the wrist and say, no, you trade your young quarterback that you're now grooming to replace Tom Brady. And basically Belichick gave Jimmy G away for a second-round pick to Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. But the point was that from that point forward, Tom Brady took them to that Super Bowl that was upcoming, threw for a playoff record 505, put up 33 points, and it still wasn't enough to overcome Belichick's lack of defense that day as he benched Malcolm Butler, and they lost 41-33. Then the following year, they go back to the Super Bowl and obviously beat the Los Angeles Rams in that Super Bowl. So that's 2 Super Bowls that Kraft got out of that one decision. But I do agree with your assessment of Tom's quotes on Howard Stern this morning, because I was a little surprised. I thought he would be a little more honest, a little more painfully honest, a little more openly honest about the decay of his relationship with Bill Belichick. And from what I read of the transcript, like you, I haven't heard the full expanse of the interview. I heard snippets of it, but it sounded like Tom was taking the high road. In fact, the snippets of conversation I heard sounded like he was having a hard time even talking about it because he was being so careful. He was almost halting. He was stuttering a lot. Well, I was that kind of conversation from Tom Brady, which I rarely hear from him, because he was trying to be so careful as to not get trapped by the great Howard Stern, who's one of the great interviewers in the history of radio or television.
He is.
Into saying something that he would regret. So to me, most of the conversation was Tom ducking and dodging and trying to say the right things about Coach Belichick, when you and I agree that that relationship had completely soured to the point of divorce. Now, back to Gisele. I had read, it's basically like People magazine sort of speculation over the last 4 years that their marriage getting a little rocky. We may even go back 5 or 6 years ago. And Tom's best quotes on Howard Stern were about how, she wrote me a letter about how much trouble our marriage was in. And I had to really focus on how to try to carry more of the load at home. That was the quote on Howard Stern. Well, the only way he knew to do that was cut out some of his football. So he cut out the OTAs, which are the off-season training programs that, most teams barely go through. That's not cutting out a whole lot of football, but maybe that was enough to A, save the marriage, and B, make it where they were coexisting, because it seems like in the last couple of years, Gisele has made some more peace with the fact that Tom basically has a, quote, mistress, and that's football, that he's going to spend as much time with his mistress of football as he does with her and the kids in his real marriage. So to me, it sounds like Tom has gotten it to a place where it's at least barely workable, where he can now tell Ian O'Connor of ESPN, gee, I'm actually thinking about going beyond 45, and Ian is just sort of speculating, gut feeling, that Tom could go until he's 48 years of age. Well, Shannon, I've told you from the start of Undisputed, which was going on 4 years ago, this guy is going to shatter the mold. Age is just a number to him, that in the end, he's having so much fun playing football, and he's in such good health shape, and his body is still so fresh that I believe he can play until, you say he's got 0% chance, but I remind you, you've been the guy all along who said 2016 will be his last year. 2017, said Shannon Sharpe, last year. 2018 will be his last year.
Skip. Here's the thing, though. I would have been correct. I said it was going to be his last year in New England. Had he not gone upstairs to Mr. Kraft, would 2017 not been his last year?
Okay, but you were saying it's going to be his last year of football. Only until last year, which was 2019, did you give yourself the out of, no, I'm now saying it's going to be his last year in New England. But early on, the first 3 years, you were saying he's going to have to retire from football because he's going to hit the proverbial football wall.
He's played better, but Skip, knowing Coach Belichick and knowing how he is a football lifer, he knows what it's like to have a historically great quarterback and you don't have the bridge to the future. What happens to you? Miami is still looking for that bridge for Dan Marino. And Buffalo might have just found it with with Allen for Jim Kelly. But Skip, you know, if you have a historically great quarterback and you do not have a bridge, because everybody doesn't get Joe Montana, go to Steve Young. Everyone doesn't get 17 years of Brett Favre and go right to Aaron Rodgers. Coach Belichick believed that he had a rightful successor. And also, Skip, another thing. If you're having problems at home because your wife says, I need you to help more with the kids, you think she's going to be able to she's going to put up with this for another 5 years? Skip, notice now, he said he cut out OTAs. He didn't cut out OTAs until Coach Belichick did what he tried to do. Now, he didn't say when she wrote that letter, so we're not privy to that. But the OTAs did not come out until Coach Belichick did what he tried to do. So, because he always had this, we always knew there was an undercurrent going on with Coach Belichick and Tom Brady. And when the letter that he wrote, he's like, he's happy to be in Tampa, and he got coaches and teammates that want to go along for that ride. Well, the ride is, Skip, him. See, for me, Skip, a lot of times when I speak about Tom Brady, I'm speaking about something that I kind of went through similar, is that when the Broncos didn't offer me a contract in 2000 and I ended up going to Baltimore. Skip, the difference, the way I looked at it, it wasn't about longevity. I needed to have success. I needed to be able to show Mike Shanahan. I needed to be able to hand him my resume and says, look. So I led all tight ends in receiving 1 year. I went to a Pro Bowl 1 year. I won a Super Bowl. It wasn't about longevity. It was about success. Can Tom Brady have success? He can play 10 more years. But if he doesn't win it all, Skip, it does not matter. It does not matter. And that's what Tom Brady is up against. He's on a race for time to try to win, because that's what Coach Belichick is maneuvering all his pieces to do. He's moving all his pieces on the chessboard to try to capture and win that title. And if he can do that, he would have proved his point. Because you best believe, Skip, he's trying to prove that not only can he win, Skip, win 10, 11 games, that's what, yeah, that'd be great. But he's trying to win that ultimate prize. You know that, and Tom Brady knows that.
And I agree with that. That's the only common ground you and I have on this topic. We both believe that it wasn't so much about a bridge to the next quarterback. It was about Bill Belichick as he started to think about, gee, I'm going on 70 years of age. I've earned the right to show the world I can win without Tom Brady. And Tom Brady, it finally dawned on him, gee, I've also earned the right to show I can win without Coach Belichick. So I think neither you nor I, Shannon, have any problem with this quote-unquote divorce, because it was inevitable. And it actually could be beneficial to both sides, because they have both earned the right to prove they can race to the Super Bowl and beat each other out to see who wins the first Super Bowl without the other. And I love this. It's great for football, and it's great for both men, because they are the greatest at what they do. Again, I don't think Bill's the greatest coach, but he's obviously right at the top of the mountain. So let's see how great he can be without Tom Brady. And I want to see how great Tom Brady can be in Tampa. And here's my point about Tom is, I didn't see any drop-off, any deterioration in his arm strength last year. And furthermore, once again, even though he had knick-knack injuries, he had a sore elbow, he had some shoulder problem for a little while, but nothing debilitating, nothing that cost him a game. So, Shannon, if you look at Tom Brady's career, he doesn't get nearly enough credit. He is Iron Man. He's like LeBron James in the NFL, except he had one glitch, and that was obviously in 2008, thanks to Bernard Pollard going low on him early in the opening game of 2008 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Tom Brady got wrecked. He tore his ACL and his MCL, and he missed the rest of that season. But other than that, he hasn't missed one other game in 20 years to injury except for the 2008 season. The only other games he missed were the 4 suspension games off Deflategate early that season.
Correct.
So if you look at the totality of his career, It's just 16, 16, 16. He just keeps playing 16 games every year, and he played 16 last year. So why can't he play to 48? Because he has learned the art of self-protection in the pocket. You say he's starting to flinch. Well, so is Aaron Rodgers. All the great quarterbacks learn to protect themselves. And if his receivers can get open quickly, he will find them quickly next year in Tampa, unlike his receivers' inability to get open last year in New England. So I say his ability is still at a Super Bowl MVP caliber level. So I don't see why he can't continue to shatter the mold, because I keep telling you, he's the one guy in sports. I've learned a long time ago, don't bet against him. Age is only a number. He's having more fun than ever playing football because he's in a much more fun place to play football with a whole new challenge and a whole new culture to recreate. So can he play 5 more? Sure, he could play 5 more years. It wouldn't shock me a bit.
No, he can't. Skip, stop. Yes, it would shock you. He's at 0% chance. But here's the thing, Skip. Do you understand that Bruce Arians' offense, he forces you to hold the football? Look at the guys that's in that offense. Look at Carson Palmer. Look at the guys that was his quarterback in his system and see how many hits they take. And you tell me a 43-year-old is going to be able to stand in the pocket because you got to push the ball down the field. No, hey, you got to push it down the field. In order to push the ball down the field, you must put yourself in harm's way. So you mean to tell me he's going to be able to stand in front? Now, he already started to flinch. We're going to talk about that because I've been telling you this lately. Skip, let me tell you something. Now, I'm not telling you something someone told me. I'm telling you what I know. I played 14 years, and as I started to get older, I didn't want to take those licks anymore. I started looking for situations like, okay, I got to know when the journey's over a lot quicker. I needed to be able to read cover 2 a lot quicker because that backside safety is looking for that shot. Skip, I'm telling you, any offensive player, and I can't speak to defense because I didn't play on that side of the football, but any offensive player that tells you, a skilled player, running back, quarterback, receiver, that tells you as they start to get over, they still have that same thirst, that same desire to take those kind of shots, they're lying. Because I'm as tough as they came. I grew up as hard as anybody. And I pride myself on being physical and being able to go over to catch the ball over the middle. But as you start to age, those licks hurt more, you recover less. And no, Skip, he's not playing the 48. Get that thought out of your head. And another thing, Skip, for me, is that all I ever heard was that when Mike Shanahan was there, yeah, Shannon is putting up great numbers, but it's Mike Shanahan's system. He's playing with John Elway. But I'm like, well, damn, guys, if y'all come watch me in the offseason and see the time that I put in, if you watch the way I eat when I'm away, if you watch the amount of, y'all not going to give me any credit. It's all them. It's all Mike. It's all John. So as much as I didn't want to leave, Skip, I needed to leave to show that I could do things outside of that system and I could do things outside of John Elway. I thank John Elway in my Hall of Fame speech because he was such a great mentor to me. He took me under his wing, helped me grow. Mike came in with the West Coast system, Skip. It was custom made for what Shannon Sharpe could do. But damn, I did have some ability. I could run, I could catch, I could understand coverages. So for me, Skip, going to Baltimore, although I didn't want to, was the best thing that ever happened in my career because it showed I can play outside of a system, outside of a head coach, outside of a quarterback, and still be successful. Tom Brady wants to prove the exact same thing that Shannon Sharpe proved 20 years ago, that he's more than Bill Belichick. He's more than a system. I'm Tom bleeping Brady. I don't need him. I don't need that system. And I'm going to show you. It's not about tenure. It's not about longevity. It's about success. How soon and how much success can Tom Brady have? That's all it's about, Skip. That 48, that sounds good. You know, George Blanda was a kicker. He really wasn't a quarterback, Skip. He was a kicker at the age of 48, and he's the oldest player to ever play in the NFL. But if Tom Brady, and if you think Tom Brady is going to be taking those shots at 48, you crazy.
Nope, I'm not. And I'm sorry to say this, but Shannon Sharpe, you cannot put yourself in the same sentence with Tom Brady. you played in a different world at tight end than he plays in at quarterback, especially today at quarterback. Because as you were the first to admit and to complain about, today's game more than ever is rigged to protect the quarterback. It started in 2008 because of the Bernard Pollard shot going low on Brady's left leg that was planted as he threw. They changed the rules. Correct. You can't go low at all. If you go low and even touch the quarterback, it's 15 yards. We know all about all the other 15-yard penalties that have been instituted just to make sure the quarterback is basically playing flag football. So the point is that Tom Brady has mastered the art of avoiding the career-threatening shot. I agree with you. He flinches when there's pressure, and there was a lot of pressure last year in New England because his receivers were dead last in the NFL in separation. Nobody can speed read any faster than Tom Brady. So he goes 1, 2, 3, and they're all, nobody's open. And all of a sudden, here comes the pressure. Yeah, he's going to flinch. Aaron Rodgers leads the NFL in flinching. Go back and look it up. 12 years as a starter in Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers has been top 5 nearly every year in what are called throwaways. If pressure comes and he doesn't like what he sees, he just throws it in the third row. He does that a lot more than Tom Brady until last year, which was Brady's first year to lead the league in throwaways. The year before, Aaron Rodgers had set the all-time NFL record for throwaways. And if you look at the expanse of his career, he's been second 5 times and third and fourth. He's been a top 5 throwaway guy from the start because Aaron Rodgers does not like contact, and I don't blame him. He understands that longevity at the quarterback position is getting rid of the football. He's not the old Kurt Warner who died for the cause. He would stand in there in the Mike Martz system and wait to the last second and get away the deep ball and get blasted in the face. And before you go, one last thing. Tom Brady last year on 20-plus yard throws down the field into tight windows was tied for first in the league in completion percentage at 41%. So don't tell me he didn't complete a whole bunch of deep balls into tight windows last year, and you watch what happens if he gets a modicum of protection from a better line this year in Tampa than he had last year in New England. Watch what happens.
Skip, his offensive line is not going to be much better. I mean, because you can look at the Patriots' offensive line was rated 12th. Tampa's rated 10th. So it's not like he's going from what he left in New England to the Indianapolis Colts or to one of these top premier pass protecting offensive line. That's not what he's going from. And you talk about he throw the ball away. Well, maybe Aaron Rodgers' receivers couldn't get open. And so instead of putting the ball in harm's way, he threw the ball away. But Skip, at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Bruce Arians' offense is about, like you said, Kurt Warner. You got to hold. Jameis took some shots in order to hold that ball to the very last second to throw the ball down the field to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. That's what Tom Brady is going to be asked to do. Now, if you're going to revamp the offense and make it what he had in New England and get the ball out of his hands quick, you're not going to get those big plays because what you complained about and others complained about were the Patriots' inability to get big plays. Skip, it's hard to get big plays when you're throwing screen, slats, drag routes. You have to push the ball down the field. Al Davis said, Skip, we want home runs. That's why he always got speed receivers because he was always looking for the home run. Well, Tom Brady really never had a speed receiver other than Randy Moss. That's why when he got Randy Moss, everything was bombs away. Now you don't have Randy Moss. Now everything, you shallow fishing. The big fish are deep. You got to go out to get a big boat and go out deep to get the big fish. Well, he has big fish. The question is, Skip, does he have the stomach to ride the wave that comes along? Because it takes you a while to get out to the deep. So it's going to take you a while. It's going to take those guys a while to get downfield. Does he have the stomach to take those shots 3, 4, 5, 6 times a game? For the next 5 years, man, you better stop playing, Skip.
Shannon, you're missing the boat and missing the point. Because Bruce Arians has football offensive genius about him. Tom Moore has genius about him, and he's advising this offense. Clyde Christensen's been around. Byron Leftwich is turning into a great young play caller. They will do what suits Tom Brady. Some will be deep, some will be short, some will be mid-range, but you're going to see a lot of empty backfield, empty sets with 5 receivers into the pattern, and trust me, somebody's going to get open like that. And Tom Brady will find them like that, and it's going to drive you crazy all next year because I think Tom Brady is going to be in the catbird seat in the MVP chase next year because I think Tampa is going to be a surprise team, and Tom Brady's going to be an MVP candidate, and here we will go for the next few years. And I think he'll play beyond just 2 years in Tampa, and it's going to be a long 5 years for Shannon Sharpe on Undisputed.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.